All right, so what did you miss when Michael B. Jordan politely smiles his way through his loss of Best Actor to Timothy Chalamet? Is this a story about how Hollywood admires Black excellence but struggles to adequately reward it? Does it connect with maybe your experience to overperform and then be under-rewarded? Was there really a billionaire behind the snubbing? Is it a snub to simply lose to a beloved actor who happens to be white? It's a delicate conversation. Let's tackle the first half of it. Zooming out wider context, you are witnessing the gallop towards the Oscars. We are in the thick of award seasons where the best movies of 2025 are vying to be recognized. And you cannot have the discussion about the best movies of 2025 without mentioning Ryan Coogler's Sinners. Yeah, the one that was named repeatedly the film of the year. How does it all but sweep at the Critics' Choice Awards? The core of the online chatter around this award season is, should Marty Supreme, the Timothy Chalamet starring and produced film that was released in December, be in the running with the triumphant Sinners? Timothy Chalamet did have an excellent performance in Marty Supreme, but it's one that few people have seen, and it has not created yet the kind of buzz that Sinners did. Now, of course, the directors understand that release date plays into this. Sinners came out in late spring. This one came out literally the last month of the year. And with art and with completely different stories and different genres, there's no scientific answer. But we can look at what Sinners did. For bringing home an undeniable box office, smashing records, and receiving critical acclaim, Sinners brought home 17 historic nominations from the Critics' Choice Awards. So they weren't ignored. The show's casting by Francine Maisler was so exceptional that she actually took home one of the new categories, which is Best Casting and Ensemble. Now, this might be a little obvious to you. Francine Maisler and the film doesn't win this award simply because Michael B. Jordan and the fabulous Wunmi Mosaku happen to be put on the same set. Each member of that ensemble cast that you put into place, they have to knock their roles out of the park. They have to work together perfectly. You might remember this moment. This is obviously not the full tweet because it doesn't fit. Ben Stiller had to call out Variety for this headline that they made when Sinners first came out. Ben Stiller wasn't the only one. This infamous headline underplayed and cast some aspersions and doubt on what was already an incredible first showing and performance from this film. It's not because no one is allowed to say anything bad about Black people's art. But this dismissive speculation, it wasn't even warranted. Variety missed what audiences already knew and what the numbers were not going to lie about. Sinners was a standout. It's one of the highest grossing horror films of all time. It's funny what you miss when you don't know how to recognize the genius that's right in front of you. And to some of you, it was a warning shot as to how Hollywood, the machine, was going to view this victory. During opening week, Sinners beat out the other contenders that were opening. The budget was around 90 to 100 million, and the global box office was 368 million. This is what people dream of. This is before we get into the facts that this wasn't a remake. This is not a franchise run. This is not coming from existing IP that had been tested and done well before. It is the highest earning original film of the last 15 years. It is the top grossing original film of the 2020s. It so cemented itself in film history that the studio was ravenous to make another one and decided to go ahead without Ryan Coogler. The film industry somewhat miscalculated the risk it was taking with this film, especially by giving Ryan, in this unique deal, so much control over it, and did not expect this. And it's one thing to not expect genius to land when you have someone who's unproven, but we're talking about Ryan Coogler. That's concerning. We'll also talk about what our leading man did in this film while contending for these Best Actor categories. Michael B. Jordan didn't have one role, he had three. Delivering on one role, that's enough for other actors to snag Best Actor. He plays two distinct characters, these twins that are identical, Smoke and Stack, and then, okay, spoiler alert, you can pause, you've been warned, he plays Stack, who has been turned into a vampire. He is playing with and against himself multiple times. We're talking the same scene multiple times, you doing 3 different roles. This is a film that requires physicality and emotionality. So remember how the ensemble won that Best Ensemble category? A good number of them also delivering additional performances as turned characters. Now, there's no denying with 7 nominations and 4 wins that Sinners was honored. There is no denying that Timothy Chalamet is one of the great actors of our generation. And in the grand tradition of white artists winning over performances that Above and Beyond delivered from Black performers, he made sure to credit Michael B. Jordan. That's where we got this face from. And listen, I looked at the crew behind this. Marty Supreme has a top-notch crew and cast. It is considered one of Timothy's best performances. So it's fair that these films can go head-to-head, that their top actors are going to be competing with each other at the award ceremonies this year. And what no one is saying is that awards just need to be given to Black artists. The question is, how undeniably great do Black artists have to be to sweep in categories that they have expanded and redefined? The music industry has struggled to even keep up with Beyonce and has changed categories to prevent her from continuing to win in them. What does the industry do when Angela Bassett and people like Denzel Washington repeatedly give the performance of their lifetime and then top that the next year? Not to mention Serena and Venus Williams, multi-hyphenates who, alongside everybody else I just mentioned, these black examples of people who have dramatically shaped and shifted the definition of greatness in their field, and how hard it is statistically for them to be recognized for that. You might say, oh my gosh, we know these people, they're famous, they have millions of dollars. Yes, but think about how much harder it is for some of that recognition to stick or be respected. Now, awards are simply competitive. We're very aware of that, but they also tell us a lot about how we as a culture see genius, how quickly we can spot it. More importantly, where we see it, on what bodies we see it. Look at what happened with The Substance and their Oscar campaign. All that year, it was wonderful to see a young new actress be respected for the work that she'd put out, which was seen as a good turn. It was incredible to watch Demi Moore's body of work, her entire career, and one of the greatest performances of her lifetime, just not get that same kind of recognition. It's the same frustration when it takes so long for the industry to recognize the lyrical genius of a young woman, but someone who has half that talent, that is just an older guy who's been around for a while, gets his flowers quickly. It took too long for Angela Bassett to be fully recognized by the Academy for all she brought. And you have to remember, this is the same Academy that struggled with what to do with the South Korean masterpiece, Parasite. So the Academy realized they needed Parasite more than Parasite needed them. Simply put it, as a foreign film would be a ding to their own reputation, not a protection from them being seen as cavorting with the masses. It's not hard for you as a horror lover to understand that Marty Supreme's story about a young white guy's indomitable spirit and his nasty pursuit of greatness can be good or even great. You also know that it's easier for film critics to see that kind of narrative, that kind of genre, and see greatness in it. Yes, the industry has given Moonlight its flowers. It's made its point to make sure that Chadwick Boseman is remembered as one of the greats. But it's so frustrating for women, for Black people, for people who are not typically represented in the industry, to be taken seriously for just how hard they work. One can't help feel that maybe the magical Negro element is still at play here, or that there's genre bias around how serious a Southern story can be, narrative that involves folklore or Black people's experiences. Lovers of fantasy, lovers of Southern narratives, you already know how difficult it is for people to see those tales as elevated. Questioning whether something is a snub, it's not a question about fairness. It's not about being handed a participation trophy. It's not asking if white people should be allowed to win anything. Obviously. It is a question about seeing. It's asking, how do we see horror and what it can give to the film industry? How hard do older white women have to work for their genius to be seen? Is Woonmi's character just seen as an extension of her Black suffering and therefore not much acting? I'm wondering why a white female director can say out loud quite confidently before she was called out that her path was harder than Serena and Venus Williams' path to being executive producers. Those questions and their answers, how we look at Michael B. Jordan's body of work, they're all part of critically wondering, how do we as an industry or as an audience see what we see? The snub is not in the moment that someone loses. The snub is also the lead up to proving what has already been proven, of outperforming everyone else, and it's still a tight competition that you might lose. I hope it's that aspect of how hard it is for certain people to gain respect for doing 3 times the work of somebody else that sticks. I hope we think of that when we're talking about subjectivity in the industry. Because at the same time, yes, things are subjective, and also the numbers don't lie. And sometimes the numbers don't prove greatness. What we have to think about is what we elevate, because sometimes it's not a reflection of true taste, but hierarchy.